Hello, everybody, and welcome to day 3 of the Future of Electrification. I'm Randall Ritzak, and I'd like to welcome you to this session. Please remember that this session is also being recorded and will be available for you to watch a few minutes after it ends. If you have any questions during the presentation, please add them at any time to the Q&A tab. You can find that tab towards the right column towards the top of your screen. Please note that any questions you send will be sent privately. With that, I'd actually like to welcome our speaker, Luca Gasparri. Luca is the general manager of Zapi Shanghai Tianjin Zapi Motion, and he'll be participating with us today on the topic, competitive landscape. What are the barriers for Chinese manufacturers to move into EU and US markets? Welcome, Luca.
Hello, Randall. Hello, everyone. Glad to be here with you all.
Thank you so much for being here, Luca. Luca did pre-record this video since his internet connection can sometimes be unreliable through firewall issues. So we do have his session pre-recorded. And so following the session, he'll also be here to answer your questions live. So welcome, Luca. Let me kick things off now with your presentation video. And then right after that ends, we'll be back with some questions and answers. And again, please, during the session, do continue to add your questions into the Q&A box on the right of your screen. With that, let's get going, and we'll go ahead and run his presentation.
Good. Look forward to some questions and to interact later after the video. Ladies and gentlemen, this event was organized by Zapi Group in collaboration with Be Moved Media. With Zapi Group, we made this event of electrification, and we are going to talk about the impact of electrification in our life. On today's talk, we are going to review competitive landscapes in China and which kind of difficulties Chinese producers have entering markets in Europe and in US. First of all, let me introduce about the Zapi Group, for whom is not aware about us. Zapi is a multinational group with production facilities in Europe, US, and China. Then we cover the rest of the countries with a sales office and dealers. We produce electric motors, motor controllers, battery chargers, and other equipments for the electrification of vehicles. I am Luca Gasparri, General Manager for Zapi in China, and I'm going to go through this presentation together with you. In China, we count on a sales office in Shanghai, promoting all of the products coming from our brands, and a facility in Tianjin producing motor controllers, electric motor, and generators. So what are we going to see on today's presentation? We are going to see how Chinese industries are participating on today's electrification worldwide, which are the main focus coming from the government. These allow us to have a bigger picture on the strategy and the current competition that we can have. And then we are going to have a look on numbers coming from the EV markets on industrial, passenger cars, and buses. Then we will deeply talk about challenges for Chinese brands and companies to enter and be active in the overseas market of Europe and US. So let's proceed having a talk about the landscape. Let's start from this Made in China 2025. Made in China 2025 is a strategy, is a plan driven by the Chinese government where they define the main areas to development and to be leader in the industries within 2025. This plan started around 2016, and of course, we cannot say that it's going to be completed fully in 2025, but it's just the initiation for a continuous improvement, a continuous growth of these industries here in the local market. As we can see here in the slide, we have 9 different areas, 9 different industries where there are important focuses and important support to the industries to be able to develop important solutions and to be again leader for tomorrow. New energy vehicles. We already see that in China, electric vehicles, electric cars, full electric or hybrid are very, very popular. They have been pushed in the market with incentives and with the scope to reduce the pollution in the big cities. We have to consider that in China, cities are generally bigger than Europe and US. We can consider that a city is considered when it has 5 million people. Otherwise, it would be considered more as a town or a village, no more than that. We have to consider different size of cities where we have a lot of cars, and the impact coming from the fuel is going to be very, very important. So one way the government is pushing, supporting companies to make research and develop electric cars. On the other side, for example, here in Shanghai, but in many other cities here in China, the government is also supporting consumer to be more willing to buy electrics or hybrid car. We have to consider that the nameplate of the car is generally limited, and the cost of this nameplate is going to be something like 100,000 RMB, which is around 16,000 US dollar, which is more or less the cost of a car. This opportunity here is basically made by initiatives of avoiding any kind of cost for the nameplate to all of the consumers that are going to buy electric or hybrid cars. Indeed, this made a strong support to the market, and local brands such as NIO, or BYD or others were able to strongly develop and be present on the market. Indeed, in today's city, we see a lot of electrics or hybrid cars already running since several years. Another important example on new energy vehicle is in the buses. A city like Shenzhen in the south of China, in front of Hong Kong, is having the entire fleet full electric. So all of the public transportation is moving by electric power. But many other cities now are using hybrid solution or full electric buses to move around the cities. Moving ahead on point number 2, we have high-tech ships. Ships are very important because anyway, they are an important logistic vehicle overall for this world. And we can see in today's situation, there is the necessity to proceed with a new kind of engine solution, because the carbon fuel, the standard engines that are used are not that in line with the recent guidelines that overall worldwide we are looking to put in place. China is already account for the important production of ships, and of course they are looking to be again a leader in this area. New and renewable energy. Also here, the Chinese government has been putting a lot of effort to realize, to produce, to put in place a lot of wind farm to provide renewable energy, green energy to families, households, and companies. And this trend is still keeping ahead, and they are also developing new kind of energies overall. Industrial robots is another area where they decide to be very strong, because anyway they represent an important step ahead onto activities for production of many different goods. In this term, they acquired KUKA, the robot brand from Germany, and they are developing with them important synergies and important cooperation to be more and more stronger in the market. DIT is another sector very important for China. We all are aware about important apps or important companies anyway in this technology area, like Tencent, Alibaba, which dramatically changed the user's attitude overall with the mobile phone, because anyway Alibaba created this Alipay, which allow the users to pay by phone, so contactless. Not even credit card needed. Of course, you need it to be registered within the phone, within the platform. But otherwise, you're going to have a QR code on your screen. The shop is going to scan it with the laser gun, and over there, the transaction of the payment is going to be completed. Other important kind of resources over here have been used, for example, on the cameras to have the identification of the face recognition. even on the street, there are already some kind of face recognition camera. So anyway, overall, it's quite advanced. At point number 6, we see mobile phone chips, or I would say microchips overall, because microchip became an important commodity or an important goods in the past few months, let's say in the past year. The shortage is making a lot of trouble to many companies. And anyway, this is the new technology that can make really important leaps in tomorrow businesses and in tomorrow industries. Medical devices as well. Over here, the industries are looking to make important progress on the medical devices for the use here within Chinese market, but also for abroad. In the aerospace, we have been seeing already around 2 years ago the first flight of the fully designed and fully produced Chinese aircraft, which is now getting more and more tested within the Chinese area. And this one is the product where they are going to compete and challenge Boeing and Airbus. Once again, this is to understand the commitment coming from the top management, because anyway, designing a new aircraft is going to be very, very costly and time consuming. Agricultural machines are again another important sector, because anyway, the population here in China is large, very large. And of course, this is an important area to provide food and deliveries to the population overall. So from these sectors, we can already understand that the strong support coming from the government for the industries over here. So let's now have a look about the competitive market, and especially let's have a look on the numbers coming from the electric vehicles. As you can see, the electric vehicles are divided in the first part, passenger cars, then we have material handling machines, and finally we have buses. In 2021, we had around 3.2 million electric cars produced in China. 500,000 were exported to other countries such as Europe and US. In here, we have an important contribution coming from the new production plant of Tesla. The new facility in Shanghai is producing with high volume for the Chinese market, but not only. We have to consider that Tesla at the moment has only 2 main areas of production. One is in US and one is here in China. At the moment, there are no production facilities running in Europe. Other than Tesla, anyway, we have other car makers here in China, local car makers like NIO, NIO, BYD, Xpeng, which is the car that we see here in the green color. And they are anyway developing and getting more and more attention from the consumer. At the moment, they are not able to have big numbers of export in other countries, but then we will see later that sometimes there's more troubles coming from rules and homologation than being able to enter the market simply. Talking about the industrial machines, focus on the material handling machines, we can see that the production in 2021 grew to 600,000 machines, which was again another important increase for about 15% compared in 2020. And only 20%, 113,000 machines around, are full electric. The rest is still with the fuel engine. Fuel engine that even in this year is experiencing some additional challenges coming from the regulations, because of course the request is to have less pollution from these engines as well. Once again, considering the export, we can say that only 50% of these 113,000 machines is considered for the export. Not that much as well over here, and generally it happens through other kind of brands that commission local brands here in China to produce the entire machine. Moving instead to the bus market, we can see that we can consider, first of all, that China is an important place for buses, because anyway, again, buses here are used to move all around China for many, many people. We cannot say that those kind of buses for long distances are the good fit for the electrification nowadays, but I'm quite confident that it will become. Anyway, all of the other buses within the cities for the public transportation within cities, so with a lower range, are getting more and more full electric or anyway hybrid. As you can see, in 2021, Chinese producers produced around 350,000 buses. Okay. As you can see, only 3,000 we can consider e-bus or electric buses, and mainly for the over here, anyway, the electrification of the buses around the world is not having such importance overall. But anyway, there are coming from these producers here in China, such as BYD, for example, that are already running stably since years in the north part of example. In here, anyway, we can consider that the local producers already achieved an important good knowledge and good quality of these kind of products. According to this number, anyway, we can see that the export is not so much comparing other kind of goods that are produced in China. Let's consider mobile phone. Let's consider computers. Anyway, we can see that the situation is getting more and more robust for the local producers to be very strong and very competitive also in other markets. So let's start to talk about what kind of problems, what kind of barriers local constructor may face when they are looking to enter other markets such in Europe and in North America. Well, first of all, let's make an important consideration about the Asian market and the rest of the world market, because here in Asia, anyway, all of these countries were able to have their own bilateral agreements to be able to better trade goods. So this means that import duties are fairly lower comparing coming from Europe, coming from US, and the other way around. And also rules are getting pretty similar overall. In this way, goods that have been designed and are already running, for example, in China, can run pretty easily in Indonesia, in Malaysia, Thailand, and many other places all around, and the other way around as well. Another fact to consider overall here in Asia is that Chinese communities are well integrated since generation in many other countries. We can consider in some way that they are the strong part of the economic system because, of course, the ties with the channels that they have with the Chinese industries are very strong. And these, of course, can give them an advantage to be able to offer a wider and even advanced product comparing to the local situation that they can face, considering Indonesia, Philippines, and whatsoever. Instead, of course, considering the European and the American market, we have to consider that the situation is fairly different. First of all, they are more developed and more mature than many other markets here in Asia. And the first important step over here, especially for this kind of electric vehicles, overall anyway, is represented in terms of homologation and approvals. We have to consider that Europe has a strong crash test approval, for example, which is not exactly aligned with what is the one here in Asia, China, for example. But anyway, is an opportunity also for the Chinese rulers to have a look and step by step develop this kind of test, this kind of homologation and rules for the local markets as well. Another example is coming from the material handling machine. Few months later, 1 year later around, we are going to have the implementation of a new rules in Europe, and this rules is the EN 1175. Surely also here, Chinese constructors are going to get aware about this standard because they will have to follow for their customers. So they're going to have the customer commissioning them for this new machine and guiding them through these new rules, but they will not have a deep and complete pictures to be able to make their own machine, enter and lead in the market. The commissioning customers, anyway, is going to be the reference customer that is going also to deal overall with this new standard and so on. So in general, we can say that the familiarity with local rules in Europe and in US for the Chinese manufacturer is not that deep. And in a way, they are more focused on the local market. It's closer, it's easier, it's developing very, very fast, and for sure they are more they are a good fit for it overall. Moving ahead, of course, we have also to consider other which are the brand and the market. In Europe and in US, Chinese brands are going to face other bigger brands that are present in those markets since a long time. So they have a stronger credibility, a stronger quality path, a stronger interaction with consumers, which is going to gain a strong trust, not easy to be replaced by new brands, even no matter if from China or others. But anyway, it's something really, really personal overall. There is even a different approach coming from consumers in Europe and in the US, where they want to have a strong and solid machine. Here in China, quite often I'm hearing that some kind of forklifts, for example, or whatsoever, products in general anyway, are going to have trouble. And anyway, consumers here are okay to get it replaced or repaired, even if it's going to take a few days anyway. This kind of approach is common over here at the moment in China, while in Europe and in US, instead, the consumer is more on having a strong product that is going to last and is going to give him a good performance over. Another important point that is coming from what we saw before, that the familiarity with the place, with Europe, for example, is not so strong for these Chinese brands, is that in this way they are missing an important local base and local professional teams to support their customers. Indeed, I've been talking also with some customers over here where they said that they established their own base in some region in Europe, that I was surprised, and they said, well, we were having some connection already. We understand we are not going to be that close to our customers, so we cannot serve them, and even our people is not that willing to be relocated over there. So missing a strong base, missing the proper professional people to support the customers and initiate with the customers some important interaction is not that implemented yet. In some markets, instead, we are seeing some other troubles related to the price competition. Price competition because some of the brands is entering the market, again in the West, with very, very low price. This is getting the attention coming from the association of the material handling, for example, or any other kind of association, to deeply investigate and report this situation. Then it already happened that some ruler reviewed the situation and imposed new import duty to make the playing field much more balanced and in line with the other brands that are already competing in that market, in that area. So proceeding ahead, we can say that, what should we expect for the future? Well, we should expect that anyway, the brands are going to be stronger and are going to be more and more committed to enter markets all around the world. We already see that there are products that are very well received from consumers. We are talking about Huawei or Xiaomi in the mobile phone, for example. Overall, anyway, they've been creating products very, very nice, with a good quality and well received by customers all around the world. Indeed, on the mobile phone, they are already a leader producers overall in this world. They are preparing full integration in same or similar business. There are already important acquisitions such as Pirelli, Syngenta, and others, KUKA, as we said before, where basically even Volvo, as we know. This is creating important integration overall, important shares of information, which is going to lead them to get better understanding of the markets overall as well. The Made in China 2025 is an important base that is coming from the management, from the top management here in China, which is giving a strong trust and a solid support to be able to be more active in developing and making research. And recently, we are seeing also that many students have been, promoted to come back to China to share with other, of course, with a share in the workplace, what they learned, methodologies, and other knowledges that they learned in Europe, other than in US, to be able to again grow, especially the manpower, which is an important characteristic as well to sustain all of the plan of the Made in China 2025. So once again, they are going to be able to better see inside, for example, the methodology on how Huawei, Lenovo, and Xiaomi became strong leaders for what they are doing. And this will be a good approach for them to be followed and try to put in place in their businesses, in their industries as well. Indeed, we have also to consider that the Chinese government, for many kind of rules related to pollution and others, is assessing overall the rule and the laws around the world. They try to get the best fit or the best modification that could be implemented locally here in China, and they are going to put in place this rule. So the approach is quite, I would say, is quite smart, and would be also quite effective for what we see. I believe we were not able to go through all of the possible leaders. Anyway, our time is getting to the end. I thank you all for your attention to these topics. I hope you found them helpful. I will be glad to answer to any question of yours in the Q&A session. In any case, do not hesitate to contact me. Thanks again to Zapi Group for this event and to all of the other people that are participating or contributing to this event. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you very much for that, Luca. A great presentation and a great overview of some of the challenges and I suppose the opportunities that people have under Made in China 2025. We have a couple of questions here. I guess one question I have just from our Q&A is, what would be your advice to companies who are just looking to get started under the requirements of China 2025? Maybe if you could sort of wrap up a summary of what you think some good first steps would be for them to be able to make sure they're complying with those requirements.
Well, first of all, of course, it depends on the place, on the city that they are having their operation or anyway their activities. Would be important to check with the government and with the customers for the possible support coming from this policy. Then there are already quite several different types of subsidies. Another one is the Silk Road initiatives that can bring really a lot of opportunity overall to the companies, but definitely this is going to be mingling a lot with the government offices where they can drive you through the right direction on all of the possible support coming from the institutions.
Excellent. Tell us a little bit about you're there. I believe you're in Shanghai, correct?
Correct.
So how do you feel about Made in China 2025? How is it generally being perceived there? Is it being seen as a success at this point?
Well, indeed, it has seen as a success because anyway, how to say, the overall business here is very active. Actually, not quite active, very active in many different point of view. In a way, many people that are quite a lot in the business of electric motors knows a lot that China, anyway, is having an important stake on rare earth to make magnets, to make many other kind of products that are very, very important for products from mobile phone to and whatsoever. Indeed, there is a lot of willingness to work hard and to reach a success. Okay, I'm not talking about having success all around the world, but anyway, bring a family at first to a success other than only your person. So in this, anyway, the people are acting very, very much. This Made in China 2025 is taking position in a wide area, as we saw, and it is transversal. So you're going to have really a lot of companies that are going to be anyway promoted to develop new things, to develop a new solution and whatsoever. There are anyway on the batteries as well. The lithium is again quite well managed from overall China, and they are not stopping over there. They are already also studying for possible other solution, and over here in this way they are going to even attract other kind of skilled person or experts coming from abroad. So it's anyway an initiative that other than the business itself is really looking to bring also knowledge, because again, to be leader, you need also to have good schools, people with knowledge, able to perform very well their job. So schools are another important area as well of this Made in China 2025, which are not listed here, of course, but we have to imagine that instead are probably at the base, because without students, professors, and good people in the market, in the companies out there, surely you cannot become that much the leader.
You talked a little bit about regulatory requirements and how they're not in step today. Can you talk a little bit about how those are they converging? How do you see the evolution of what the regulatory requirements are going to be from a Made in China 2025 perspective?
Well, over here as well, another point that I quite admire in a way is that whenever they have to create a new regulation, no matter if it's for environment, for the safety at work, or whatsoever, one of the first things is that they are going to look all around the world to understand what kind of rules, what kind of laws are applied in Europe, other than in US, South America, wherever they can space. They get it, they analyze, and then they adjust to properly fit locally. Okay, so this is a good opportunity anyway to start from a base, not starting from scratch, because anyway this could be quite hard and quite misleading. For example, what we are seeing also in the electric vehicles, you have many different solutions, because anyway there are opportunities for many constructors. So you can go from the low voltage to high voltage for the same type of product, different kind of voltages anyway. So the situation is also quite creative sometimes. Indeed, ruling also this area is important. First of all, for the safety of the possible users that are going to use the product. Second of all, anyway, to make a quite common playground overall. So indeed, they are working a lot to improve over there as well. The situation is that sometimes the business is evolving so quick that even the regulators are not that able to foresee that much with their view about what's going on, and how to say, they're going to be easily one step behind at least.
Great, excellent, thank you. I think that's all we have for questions. So thank you very much, Luca, for your contribution today. We really appreciated your session. And we'd like to thank the audience for attending as well. Again, the recording of this session will be available after the session. You can, at this point, back to the lobby and join one of the upcoming sessions that we have for the rest of today. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Randall. Thank you to the audience.